Under the blazing Sahel sun, a convoy marked with the words Humanitarian aid rolled toward Burkina Faso's northern villages, carrying crates stacked high with rice. But when soldiers cracked them open, the grains tumbled aside to reveal cold, gleaming steel, assault rifles, ammunition, and explosives. What was meant to feed the hungry was built to fuel a war. The midday sun burned over the dusty road as a long convoy of trucks slowly approached the northern checkpoint, their white tarps flapping in the wind and bold humanitarian logos painted on the sides. Villagers gathered along the roadside, their faces lighting with relief at the sight of what seemed to be long-awaited food aid. After weeks of shortages, the promise of rice and essential supplies felt like a blessing. But the soldiers on duty noticed small things that didn't add up. The lead driver kept his gaze fixed on the horizon, refusing to meet anyone's eyes, and his paperwork bore smudged stamps that looked freshly printed. The crates stacked at the back of the trucks had mismatched sealing tape, some showing faint signs of being cut open before. When one soldier tapped the side of a crate, the hollow metallic echo was nothing like the muffled sound of packed grain. Suspicion crept in, and the officer in charge immediately called for higher authority. To the surprise of everyone, President Ibrahim Traoré himself arrived within minutes, his vehicle kicking up a storm of dust as it stopped beside the convoy. Stepping out in his military fatigues, he took in the scene with a single sweeping glance, his sharp eyes locking onto the drivers, who exchanged quick, uneasy looks. Without a word, he walked to the nearest truck and ran his hand over the crates, then nodded for a soldier to fetch a crowbar. The villagers fell silent, sensing the tension rise. The sound of wood splintering cut through the hot air, and as the lid flew open, the truth glinted in the sunlight. Rifles, ammunition belts, and grenades lay buried beneath a thin, deceptive layer of rice. The aid convoy wasn't here to feed the hungry, it was here to arm a war. A wave of shock rippled through the crowd as whispers spread like wildfire. Weapons hidden in food aid. Traoré's jaw tightened, his voice cutting through the murmurs. As he ordered every truck to be searched from top to bottom, soldiers moved quickly, prying open crate after crate, and each one revealed the same treachery: boxes of ammunition, explosives, and high-powered rifles carefully buried under sacks of rice. The supposed humanitarian drivers shifted nervously, sweat dripping down their brows despite the dry heat, their eyes darting for possible escape routes. Traoré stepped toward them, his boots crunching on the gravel, and asked in a calm but firm tone, "Who sent you?" Silence hung heavy in the air. One man finally muttered the name of a small, foreign aid organization, one that Traoré instantly recognized from intelligence briefings as a front for an international arms network. His suspicions confirmed, he ordered the drivers to be detained and the convoy moved to a secure compound. Villagers, still stunned, began to realize that the food they had been praying for had been nothing but a cover for bloodshed that could have torn their region apart. In a rare moment of transparency, Traoré turned to the people and told them the truth, warning them to remain vigilant against such deceptions. The relief on their faces was now mixed with anger at those who had dared to use their hunger as a weapon. As the last truck was escorted away under heavy guard, Traoré glanced toward the horizon, his mind already racing with questions. This was no small smuggling attempt. It was a carefully planned infiltration. Someone powerful had intended these weapons to reach dangerous hands, and the president knew that stopping this convoy was only the first move in a much larger, more dangerous game. Back at the secure compound, the seized trucks were lined up under the watchful eyes of heavily armed soldiers. Traoré walked among them, his hand running along the cold metal of the rifles stacked inside the crates. These were not ordinary weapons, they were advanced military-grade firearms, many still wrapped in foreign factory seals. He recognized some as models restricted to elite forces, meaning they could only have been acquired with high-level connections. Intelligence officers brought him a confiscated satellite phone found in the convoy leader's bag. Scrolling through its messages, Traoré saw coded instructions, GPS coordinates, and payment records in multiple currencies. The latest text was chillingly clear, delivered by nightfall. Target secured. His gut told him this wasn't just about arming rebels. There was a specific operation planned, and it was imminent. He summoned his closest advisors, spreading a map of the region on the table. The GPS data pointed to a remote village near the border, strategically located and known for recent rebel activity. If those weapons had reached their destination, it could have meant a massacre or the takeover of the entire area. Without wasting time, Traoré ordered a rapid deployment unit to prepare for a covert strike. The drivers were interrogated further, and under pressure, one finally broke, revealing the name of a foreign operative coordinating the deliveries. From within the capital itself, that revelation hit like a thunderclap. It meant the conspiracy wasn't just coming from outside the country. It had roots deep inside Burkina Faso. As night began to fall, Traoré stood at the compound gates, watching the soldiers gear up. His voice was steady, but his resolve burned. "We stop this tonight, before another innocent life is lost." The moon hung low, casting a pale silver glow over the dusty border road as Traoré's convoy moved silently toward the coordinates. The air was tense, every soldier alert, their weapons ready, but muzzles lowered to avoid detection. They abandoned their trucks a few kilometers from the target, continuing on foot through the scrubland. The sound of boots crunching lightly on dry soil. Ahead, faint lights flickered. A cluster of trucks parked in the shadows of the village, guarded by men in mismatched uniforms. Through his binoculars, Traoré spotted stacks of crates being unloaded into a large hut, their lids pried open to reveal glints of steel. These were the remaining weapons that had slipped past previous checkpoints. A whispered order spread through the squad. Encircled the site. "Wait for my signal." Suddenly, a gunshot cracked the silence. One of the sentries had spotted movement. The night exploded into chaos. Gunfire rattled through the air as Traoré and his men advanced. Moving from cover to cover, the enemy fought fiercely, but they were outmatched by the precision and discipline of Traoré's forces. In the middle of the firefight, Traoré tackled a man attempting to set fire to the crates, the foreign operative they had been hunting. Under the glare of flashlights, his face was revealed, confirming intelligence reports. Within minutes, the remaining rebels were subdued, their weapons seized, and the operative bound for interrogation. As the dust settled, the village elders cautiously emerged from their homes. Relief etched on their faces, Traoré assured them they were safe, but inside, he knew this was only one battle. In a much larger war, somewhere in the shadows, others like this man were still plotting, and Traoré had no intention of letting them succeed. The sun was already rising by the time Traoré's team returned to the capital, the captured weapons convoy following under heavy guard. In the war room, intelligence officers laid out the contents of the seized crates on a long table: rows of rifles, boxes of ammunition, grenades, and encrypted communication devices. But it was what they found hidden inside a false bottom of one crate that made the room go silent. A detailed map of the region, marked with multiple relief routes that were, in reality, smuggling corridors. The discovery confirmed Traoré's worst fears. This was not an isolated incident, but part of a large, well-coordinated network. Determined to end it, he ordered simultaneous raids on every marked location before the smugglers could regroup. Over the next 48 hours, his forces moved swiftly, dismantling storage sites and intercepting trucks disguised as humanitarian aid. The operation ended with dozens of arrests and the destruction of a supply chain that had been arming insurgents. For months, that evening, Traoré stood before the people in the city square, holding up one of the confiscated crates, his voice steady but filled with conviction. "They came to us pretending to feed our people," he said, "but they came to feed the war instead. We will not let them." The crowd erupted in applause, the sound echoing through the streets like a promise. As night fell, Traoré watched from his office window, the city lights shimmering below. The battle had been won, but the war for Burkina Faso's future was far from over. Yet, for the first time in days, he allowed himself a small smile, because every victory, no matter how hard-earned, brought his people one step closer to peace. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Subscribe to Faso Histories for more powerful and thrilling stories. Every week.